Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host, Utkarsh Shukla, and let me introduce you to my guest, Jill. Jill, thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you for having me.
So, let's start with our very basic question. Can you please introduce our audience about yourself, like who you are, what work you do, anything you want us to know about you?
Sure. My name is Jill Caporrimo. I am based in the United States in New Jersey, which is 13 miles out of New York City. I live here with my husband and two teen sons. Um, I am the founder and owner of Wellness with Friends. It's an spa and wellness business that is really based on the philosophy of the 10 dimensions of wellness. Um, this is something, my vision for Wellness with Friends is really to help redefine the way people view and also experience wellness.
That's really great to know. And talking about the dimensions of wellness, so how does this work? If you can just brief us, like, is it B2B, is it B2C, or is it both? Just a brief about how this company works.
Oh, okay. So my company is both B2B, B2C. So I have two specific service lines for my business. One is in-home spa and wellness experiences, in-home and on-site, I should say. So it would be women getting together who want to experience wellness at home, spa and wellness experiences at home. And then I also have them for companies. So I do a lot of on site wellness programs as well as for corporate recognition and employee appreciation, things like that. And then, so that's one side. And then the other side of my business is all wrapped around health and wellness coaching. So one-on-one consulting and coaching with clients. And then also, I help companies design, build, and implement full-scale wellness solutions within their company.
That's really great. And talking about like B2B, where you are consulting companies and firms regarding the wellness program of their employees. So how does that thing work? Because then there is a large audience involved in that plan, right? So how is that program working?
Great. So when I am creating the full scale wellness transformations, I'm drawing from my past experience at McKinsey, where I was in management consulting, and I spent years running design sprints for Fortune 100 companies. So I take the same methodologies that I use for thinking and agile, and I take our clients through the exact a very similar process where first before getting in the room with a cross-functional group of people to actually create their wellness program, I spend some time interviewing a subsection of people across the company to understand what their wellness needs are. Once I understand and have all of that information, I can then walk into the room on day one with a cross functional group of people who are going to help build the wellness program. And I can then bring in those voices and we can start to craft a wellness program that's for the entire company, right? And it's not only what the employees want, but we also marry the company goals as well, and then create some KPIs around that to make sure that we're meeting the mark on for the goals that we set.
That's really great. And there must be many challenges that you face while dealing with B2B, right? So if you can just brief us about like what are the biggest challenges that you think that exist?
Um, I would say the biggest challenges are getting people to get on the same page about what wellness is. So currently when you say what's wellness, what does wellness mean to you? Let me ask you the question. What does wellness mean to you?
if you ask me in point of like from company or all those views, so having an environment where I won't feel like burnouts or not too much of stress. So like
Yeah.
these terms, I can define it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely part of it. But what people don't realize is wellness is like, I like to say 10 different dimensions. I have this very specific philosophy around wellness where a lot of people always think, it's physical and nutritional, right?
Yeah.
It's all based on physical, nutritional, yoga, meditation. Yes, those are all great, but there's 10 specific wellness goals.
Yeah.
And what I try to do is I try to educate people on the 10, right? There's physical, we know, physical, nutritional, emotional,
Mm.
spiritual, occupational, intellectual, environmental, right? We have these 10 that make up our whole beings. So when you ask people individually, when first you educate them on what they are, they're kind of taken back and they never really thought about it from that perspective. So I think that's one of the first challenges that I have. It's really around educating people on what wellness is. Then once I, articulate the 10 dimensions of wellness and ask people, what are the most important to you, right? Then we get a whole myriad of what's important. And, you know, um, so everyone has what is most important to them. But usually, when we kind of boil down all of the results that we get, it usually turns to be the things that align across all like personas, if we use that word, is it's really around financial, emotional, right, and occupational wellness, and trying to keep a balance
Yeah.
of those three. And then the additional challenge is then trying to marry, come up with a solution to balance those three with the company goals. And while it's a challenge, it's not one that we can't meet. It's just in the room. That's what we do. We talk through, what we imagine this, wellness program to look like and how we can, make our employees happy as well as our companies, the shareholders. How can we marry these and provide a great rock solid wellness program that not only meets our employees' needs and keeps them excited and energized and wanting to be there, and also deliver on, ultimately ROI.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. Like you asked me the question, I only told you about emotional wellness. I forgot about the other ones, right? So I think it's very important to tell the employees like the 10 dimensions and the other top three pillars that you just told me. So it's very
Yeah.
important for people as well.
The, the 10 dimensions is a philosophy which I hold true to. I really feel like it's something unique about Wellness with Friends and about me in particular. I feel like that when I talk to people about wellness, 8 people out of 10 just they never thought about
Yeah.
they've never thought about wellness that way. And what I like to say is, we're all looking to have that less stressful, more balanced life. But until you're thinking about your life in that way, right, from these 10 different dimensions, there's no way you can keep balance. It's very, very hard. So I'm really looking to draw awareness, right, to these 10 dimensions, and that's what we try to deliver through our services.
That's really great to know. And if I ask like what's your long-term goal or what's the main plan for wellness with friends? So what it will be.
The long-term goal. So there's two. There's two from the in-home spa and wellness side. That is to actually franchise that. I've always wanted to build a business I actually have my massage therapy license. While I'm not hands-on practitioner, I always wanted to build a business for massage therapists and other people in the wellness industry that they could use what either, as supplemental income or as a full-time job, right? Being hands-on for a couple of years, I realize it's very hard. So with that said, I am looking to build this kind of into a box, business in a box, and then franchise it to others. So that is long term for there. And then on the wellness program side, my goal is really within the next 5 years to have wellness programs, full scale wellness programs rolled out to the top Fortune 500 companies. And they really own them, right? Right now, you asked about challenges, but one of the problems is the reason they don't have a program or the programs aren't running well, they don't have the resources to get them up and running properly and then to support them. But that's where I come in. That's where I help them get them up and running, provide them with support until they're ready to kind of maintain them. So that is my long-term goal.
That's really great to know, and we wish you best of luck for the same.
Thank you.
Coming from McKinsey, one of the top consulting firm in the world and one of the best places to work, as we know, through the world's right. What motivated you to leave that job permanently and have your own company?
Well, I should actually say I'm not fully. So while I left full time, I am still on as an external advisor. So I, from time to time, go back and do some advising work, specifically concept sprints. They're my passion, they're my love. I do love technology. You ask about goals, and a goal of mine is somehow, some way, try to figure out the right tech piece
Okay.
to wellness with friends. Don't know what it is yet, but there will be some sort of technology component. But with that said, what drove me to leave? It was a really personal decision. I always knew I would never leave McKinsey to go and work somewhere else. I love it. I think the company is amazing. The people are amazing. It suited me well for the 18 plus years that I was there working full time. But I came to a point in my personal life where I really didn't see my kids much the first 8 and 10 years of their lives. So I really wanted to be more present. And I always had this I had this passion for wellness. And as I had mentioned earlier, I had started this business while I was at McKinsey like years ago, very, very slowly. But with that said, I really wanted to go full throttle and see what it was, see what it could be. So I'm happy I made the jump, and I'm still happy to be connected to McKinsey in some capacity.
That's really good to know. And talking about design sprints, right? So can you just brief about it? Like how does that work and what are the different aspects of the same?
Oh, the design sprint that we ran at McKinsey, or how I run them for Wellness with Friends.
Can you just distinguish between both of them? And is there any common point between them?
Yeah, sure. So for McKinsey, I would typically do pre-work, before I got into the room with the cross-functional group of people who were running the sprint. And the pre-work would consist of uh, interviews with the people to understand, what the pain points were, what the moments of delight were, and just understand each persona. I would also work with teams to understand, take a first cut at vision, problem statement, all of these things. We would come into the room on day one and we would take a look at the pre-work that we did to acknowledge, okay, yes, this is the mission, this is the vision, this is the problem. And then we would really get into the three different or four or two, the different personas, and really understand from the user's point of view what was going on. That really helped us then to take the next step and understand the current journey of whatever problem we were trying to solve. We understand the current journey. Then we designed the future state journey. And then by the end of day one, we had a very hypothetical MVP. Day two would look like, day two would all be about designing. What does it look like? What does that MVP look and feel like? And it would start some robust conversations around what people thought about the MVP. Day three was a technical check. So all the things that we said we wanted to build, can we technically, is it technically feasible? Can we do it? And if we can, we know. And then day four is all about, risks and assumptions, legal discussions, things of that nature, and the business model. And then day five is we would have our prototype ready to go, and we would test with users and get really, really valuable feedback. So that's what a 5-day sprint looked like, or looks like when I run them for McKinsey. How they're very similar to how I do the wellness transformations. So I do the pre-work, right? Understand, the company's mission, vision, what their goals are. And then I understand what personas we're looking at, what users, and they're usually lumped into generations. It's usually like a generational thing you'll start to see where, millennials want something very different than Gen Xers and things like that. And then day two, so we understand all of that when we come into the room on day one. We confirm and agree, to and make any revisions that we need to mission, vision, goals. And then we start to craft, we look at the current journey and what they currently have as their wellness program. We map out the future. And then by the end of day one, we talk about really what an MVP could look like. So day one's pretty much the same. It's day two where it turns a little bit different. Day two really gets into more of what can we deliver and a road mapping exercise. So typically the wellness transformations are 1 to 2 days, sometimes 3. But then it really turns into a road mapping exercise and figuring out who can do what, who has capacity to do what. And the company then starts to take some ownership of whatever they can.
It's really great to know. And talking about the skills that the person needs to have in order to design the sprints. So according to you, what they are?
I'm sorry, say that again. What was the question?
What are the skills that you think are necessary to design the sprints?
The risks?
The skills.
Oh, the skills.
Yeah.
The skills to design a sprint. First and foremost, the ability to listen, hear all perspectives, every single person in the room. A lot of times you have leaders in the room who have an agenda that they're trying to drive forward, but it might not be for the best, it might not be the best for the solution, right? So it's important to hear all individuals in the room and help bring all ideas to light, and then help to craft a solution that is really going to meet the needs of the end user. So I think listening and interjecting where you need to, that's a critical skill that you need to have.
That's really great. I think the power of listening in the field of consulting is very important, and it can be on the design as well, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because so many of the skills that I've learned throughout the course of working with these design sprints, it's very, very similar even to the coaching, the health and wellness coaching that I do, right? Active listening, being able to repeat back in a succinct manner what you heard, right? Being able to challenge in a very non-judgmental way, right? That's another skill. Being able to challenge, whether I'm in the room conducting a concept sprint and challenging ideas for them to think broader about the solution, or if I'm in a one-on-one coaching session where I know the individual is greater than they are, and really trying to help them, push them to kind of get out of their own way, their own comfort zone.
So, what are the best ways to improve these skills or to have these skills?
The best way to improve
Learning.
active listening, the best way is having many conversations and really blocking whatever's going on in your head and just listening and repeating back the question and asking the question to the individual, right? Really being engaged. It is so important.
It's good to know. And talking about your total experience till now, if you want to share one story from all of your experience, what it will be?
One story. I think I will share the story of my life in 2014 because I think it rolls together my past and my current nicely. So in 2014, I was the busiest that I had ever been. Work was all consuming. My family life, my kids were little. It was all consuming, and I was literally on the verge of a breakdown. Like I just didn't know how I could go on one more day. It was really, really difficult time, which I'm sure many people can relate to. And I remember taking a weekend to just unplug and take stock of my entire life. And I just, got out one of those big post-it notes, the wall post-it notes. That's how I live. That's how I work. And I started writing out all aspects of my life, right? I said family and jobs, right? Family, job. And I wrote down McKinsey, wellness with friends. And I was noting all these areas of my life. And then I started writing goals against all of them because in my mind, I knew I loved where I worked. I wanted to stay there, but I couldn't maintain this pace for the long term. So I knew I was planning to get out at some point. So I said to myself, okay, if I could just, kind of break everything down for myself, create some goals and start working towards those, I can get myself, one, out of this very kind of bad place that I'm in, and two, help me build for my future. So I mapped everything out and I saw, family and friends and financial and emotional and occupational, environmental, all these things pop up. And that's how I came to really understand these 10 dimensions of wellness. And it wasn't until I started working towards each of those goals for each of the areas, right? That's when my life started to change, right? I had to take action. Fast forward 4 years. It took me 4 years to get through all those goals, but I was in a great place. I was really loving what I did, but it was time. And that was at the 2018 when I decided that I was going to leave the firm in a full-time capacity. I said, hey, love what I'm doing. Call me if you need me. And I left. And about a month later, I was, kind of looking back again at that sheet. And that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, wait, these are like 10 dimensions of wellness. And what I did for myself, I can do for others. So that's where, at that point, I made that switch from like in-home spa parties and that to like wellness goal setting workshops. And I started on this journey of creating these wellness goal setting workshops for individuals and for companies. And then shortly after that, I realized this is wellness coaching. And shortly after that, went for wellness, a wellness coaching course, became a nationally certified health and wellness coach. And that kind of takes me to present day. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I feel like, if I could leave your audience with one thing, I would say shift your perspective and how you think about wellness and start to see it from all of these different angles, right? These 10 different dimensions. And also, one thing specifically, and this is for the long term, when you're thinking about retirement, it should not just be about financially planning for retirement, right? You really need to think about your life long term and what you're doing. The things you're doing now are the things that will come to be in your future. So if you're taking good care of yourself now, when you retire, you will be living well. How many people do you know where you've heard these stories where people retire and then, 6 months out, 2 months out, they have massive heart attacks and die, or they're out living their best lives and then are struck with like an illness. It happens because when you step off the wheel, the hamster wheel, when you start to reduce the amount of stress that you once had, it hits hard. And if you haven't taken care of yourself up until this point, it's going to hit. It's going to hit really hard. So that's that, I can go on for hours. But I really urge people to really, one, think differently about wellness in general. And then two, really keep in mind what you do today, it will set you up for success or failure in the future.
Yeah, I think this is the best advice. I was going to ask you for your advice, but I think you have already delivered the
That
best.
that is the best advice I could give anybody.
Thank you so much, Jill. I think it was really a wonderful experience for me to learn about your experiences and your journey till now. It was really a great pleasure for me as well to know about your journey, and it was really an inspiring one as well. So thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you. I totally appreciate it.
Thank you.